Welcome to another episode of Remember the Great Sports, sharing my collection. Recently I've just been organizing my collection, and I really came across a common theme in my collection that I guess I hadn't realized that I was doing. I have a great collection of 1980s era New York Mets items or photos in my collection. And some of these I've picked up over the years, and I've shared a couple of them on this channel before. But most of these items I had before I established this channel. And like I said, I've just been trying to organize some stuff and get my collection, put together better. So I thought, you know what? Why not show my New York Mets collection off? So I'm going to just start right here at the beginning. This is probably one of my proudest items in my Mets collection. And this is a signed Shea Stadium. And if you guys remember, I have a Yankee Stadium, very similar to this, but it's a larger photo. This is just an 8x10. And as you can see, this is just crammed full of signatures from players from, the Mets past. Let me zoom up so you can see the top there. From the Mets past. I actually bought this photo with, I want to say, most of the top filled out here. Okay, so all these signatures were here when I got it, but I've throughout the years added different people to this that are from New York legends. So I'm not going to go through all these, but you can see some pretty significant names on there. Starting with the kid right there, Gary Carter up in the top left. On down the list, I want to say there's Wayne Garrett, Kevin Mitchell right here. Going back to the 69 Mets, we got Jim McAndrew. This is Ed Hearn from the 80s. Al Weiss from the 69 team. There's Art Shamsky right below Gary Carter. But let me just throw a few names out that I know I've added to it that I got signed in person. That's Hojo. I got Howard Johnson to sign that in person. Let's see. That's Mike Hampton right there. Mets fans definitely know who Mike Hampton is. Let's see, I want to say that's John Gibbons, the catcher. Or is that John Stearns? Let me take a look real quick. Also, Ed Kranepool's on here, the original Met. I did not get that sign. That came on there, so that one was there. But like I said, there's just Lenny Randle. Just Mets throughout the years. Some were huge names, some not so much. I mean, for example, Willie Blair was not a Met for very long, but he played for the Mets, so I got him to sign this. Not like Ed Kranepool, who was there for a very long time. Oh, that's John Gibbons right there. I knew I had John Gibbons on there. So anyways, this is quite, probably my best New York Mets item that I have in my collection. But I'm going to show you a couple other things that you're really going to be impressed with as well. So we'll get to those in a minute, but we'll just knock out a few single photos here. I picked these up years ago on a lot. We're talking dirt cheap. We're talking like $5 or less. I put them in the top loaders to protect them a little bit better, but there's a Davey Johnson 8x10. Real nice add to the collection. Here is a Frank Viola as a Met. This is a Greg Jeffries, which would have been a huge deal back in the day, getting that signed. And like I said, I bought all those in like a small lot. Didn't cost me over $5 each. So, $5 for these guys, not a bad deal, in my opinion. Alright, so we'll save that one for last. So this other item I happened to pick up in a collection, it's just one of those things you can't pass up. And this is a Gary Carter / Dwight Gooden signed photo. And again, I couldn't tell you the history of where I got this. I picked it up years ago, way before I had my channel. Might have picked it up in an antique mall or in a trade or something like that. But I've always had this in my signed 8x10s box. So I thought I'd dust it off and show it off to you guys and say, hey, here's another real cool New York Mets piece from the 1980s featuring the kid and the doc on one photo, both signed by each of them. Alright, so this photo I know I've shown on this channel because when I purchased it online, like in a bulk purchase on eBay. And this is the mid-1990s pitching staff of the New York Mets, the next phenoms that were supposed to be of the Mets' glory. And I purchased the photo. It was already signed by Paul Wilson and Bill Pulsipher. These two had already signed the photo, so that just left me with needing to add Jason Isringhausen. Well, I got Jason Isringhausen to sign this in person, and as you can see, he gave me a great signature up here. I actually asked him to sign up there because I wanted it to stick out more because they kind of blend in with the blue down here. But as I was getting Jason to sign it, I said, do you mind inscribing that Gen K? Because Generation K was the name of these three guys. That was kind of their nickname, or their, I guess that we would call it their marketing name. That when the Mets had these guys in their system, you know, this was Generation K. So Izzy inscribed that Gen K, completing this photo. You know, I was so pumped to finally get this, you know, photo completed. I think I only paid $10 for it, signed by Pulsipher and Wilson, which was awesome. And I had access to Jason Isringhausen. I see Jason Isringhausen every now and then, and I was just waiting for him to sign this, and he took care of it and signed it for me. So, very cool to finally finish this piece. Alright, this final thing I'm going to share with you is something I picked up at a antique mall years and years and years ago. And we're talking before I had my channel. I was walking through an antique mall, and I remember I bought this photo along with a signed Tony Gwynn photo. Again, certificates aren't there or anything like that, but this is a signed photo by the Mets greats from the '86 Mets. Check this out. Signed by each individual person, and you know, I think they're authentic autographs. The Sharpies are live, but you can see that there's difference in color for each of the pens. So, you know, that doesn't mean it's authentic, but these look pretty darn good to me. But anyways, I think I paid $15 for this way back when. And again, we're talking, you know, 15, 20 years ago. And it's signed by Gary Carter, Sid Fernandez, Dr. K, Dwight Gooden, Keith Hernandez, and the straw man himself, Darryl Strawberry. So this is a unique photo I've never shown on my channel before, only because it's been packed away in a box for years and years and years. You know, just like I said, this photo with just those two on it have also been packed away in that same box, and I'm like, you know, I'm going to pull that out and share that with some of the viewers on my channel. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Tell me which one was your favorite. You know, I know I kind of covered some different generations here, but those single ones are cool. But again, this is a prized piece in my collection, you know, for the Mets. I again picked this up years and years ago for next to nothing. I want to say 20 to 30 bucks with, you know, about 15 signatures on it. And over time, I've just added to it. And I know Jason Isringhausen's on. Yeah, there's Isringhausen right there. I knew I had him sign this as well. But makes sense I get him to sign Shea when I get him to sign that. But Izzy's on there. It's kind of in the crowd. You can't see it, but, you know, what are you going to do? But tell me what you guys think of all these Mets autographs. Look forward to your comments below. And as always, happy collecting. If you got any Mets stuff, definitely share the link down below in a comment. I'd love to check out the video. Happy collecting.